Ridiculous Crime is a production of iHeartRadio.
Yo, Elizabeth Dutton.
Yes?
You know what's ridiculous?
Oh, yeah. The band name Cherry Poppin' Daddies. Straight up ridiculous. Come at me, Cherry Poppin' Daddies. Are they embarrassed about that now?
I hope they are.
Well, are they playing county fairs?
I
hope
think
so.
they are.
I hope they're doing something.
No, I have no idea.
Godspeed, Cherry Poppin' Daddies.
I stopped getting the newsletter.
Your loss.
Yeah. I still got all the stickers on my car. Okay, that's a good one. That is very ridiculous. Now, how about another ridiculous one? A dude who's down on his luck, feeling a little stuck, and he needs to make a quick score of big cash. The best idea he can come up with is to kidnap a famous person's child and hold that kid for ransom.
Oh.
The famous person whose kid he decides to grab is Frank Sinatra. You're like, wait, what? Why would you possibly? There's so many other celebrities' kids to take, bro. That is like probably the worst celebrity.
That's a bad life choice.
Like, you know, all of his friends are like mob bosses. Like, bro.
A little bit.
Anyway, so as dumb as this plan sounds, things go even wilder than you might imagine. This is a strange cast of characters. We got Sam Giancana, mob boss. We got J. Edgar Hoover, head of the FBI. We've got Jan from Jan and Dean. Yeah. And this one will surprise you. So, you ready to hear about the dumb, lucky kidnapping of Frank Sinatra Jr.?
Bring it on.
This is Ridiculous Crime, a podcast about absurd and outrageous capers, heists, and cons. It's always 99% murder-free and 100% ridiculous. Okay, it's the 1960s. In fact, it's the start of the 1960s, and the coolest men in the world are the Rat Pack. You know who the Rat Pack are, right?
Yes.
Who are they?
Me, you.
And your dog, Elliot.
Producer Dave.
And also Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr. We're a swell group, right? So they were in 1960 like the creme de la creme, the coolest people. They're movie stars. They are singing all around the world. They are carousing all the time in Vegas. They're living up the high life that pretty much everybody who equates as like, you know, the Playboy lifestyle, that's them at the time when America is at its peak prosperity. So basically you're standing being the coolest men at the peak of America's history. The Rat Pack.
Top of the heap.
I'm king of the hill. So their lifestyle gets turned into a film. You know the film as Ocean's 11. That film pretty much captures a vibe that is stayed what America's idea of cool. You know, it is like pretty much, you know, Steven Soderbergh has made a career out of kind of aping the feelings that conjures. Maybe not exactly the visuals, but the feelings. And you know, good for him. But
the elixir of it.
Yes, a good word. I like that. The elixir of cool. Yeah. Anyway, so the same year, Frank Sinatra also made a big switch from Capitol Records and he started his own record company, Reprise Records. And Reprise ended up being one of the first record companies that an artist had as an independent holding. So they were like, I now have my own record company. Before Frank Sinatra, nobody could do that. And they, you know, they were involved in all of the, you know, payola and these scams. And it was like, everybody know the mob was involved. The music industry was and remains really shady, right? So he tried to kind of take control. So he gets the mob to back him and he gets the Reprise Records of his own. Eventually he sells it for a huge, huge windfall for him. It works out great. So now everybody else starts wanting to do it. It doesn't go badly, right? Now, I don't know. I grew up in a house where my dad revered Frank Sinatra. So I heard him and the Temptations and the Four Tops. And like, I basically heard Motown and Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr., actually, all of them, all the time from my father. It was
all at once.
He just put the needle on
like
the records.
5 record
players.
He
had 5 record players to make him compete. And I had to just dance in front of each one and amuse him and his friends. No, this is not at all. So he would just be playing Frank Sinatra. And to me, that was like the height of cool. Basically, it was Motown and the Rat Pack. Those are the two ideas of cool in my head.
I'm just stuck on you dancing.
You know, what did you grow up?
This cacophony of all these competing songs. Dance, Zaron.
Come on. Your uncle wants to see you move. So, but like, I have no idea what other people, like how they view like Frank Sinatra. To me, he is America. But what is he to you? Like when I say Frank Sinatra, what do you think of?
I think of Las Vegas, most certainly. And I kind of, was he like a Palm Springs fixture?
Yeah, later in life.
That's
he had a
kind
house
of
out
the
in
Frank
Palm Springs.
Sinatra that I always think of, where he's like in like a cashmere cardigan
Yeah, that's late life Frank.
swanning around.
So, like 60s peak Frank, late like Frank. Did you know anything of like, Academy Award winning 50s Ava Gardner Frank or 40s Tommy Dorsey Frank?
I know it all.
Oh, okay. So do you think of him as being like a central figure in American history?
Oh, certainly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good because he was. He helps get Kennedy elected.
Is that the right answer? What if I said no?
Oh, I would have just gotten up and left.
Thank God I answered correctly. Go on.
No, but and I want everybody who's unaware that it seems silly, but Frank Sinatra was a central figure of American history in so many ways, right?
Yeah.
So keep in mind, that's the person that this guy decides to kidnap his son. Now, let's meet our kidnapper.
Yes.
23-year-old Barry Keenan is a California kid, grew up in LA. His father's a stockbroker, goes to uni high in Santa Monica. He has what we call a comfortable life, right?
So, yeah, sure.
Post World War II, 50s is his childhood.
Very hot Ozzie and Harriet.
Very Ozzie and Harriet, very much like, LA during the boom of the aerospace industry. So it's just like, oh, go, and jets. Anyway, so.
Go, jets.
He's like best friends with Dean Torrance. This is kid, right? Dean Torrance turns out to be later on the other half of the surf music duo, Jan and Dean. He's also friends with Nancy Sinatra. These are the kind of kids he's growing up with, when he's in high school. This just gets you an idea. He goes off, leaves high school, graduates, goes to UCLA.
He's a Bruin.
Doesn't really have it in him to do the college life. He's like, I don't drop out. His dad's like...
He's not a Bruin.
Not a Bruin. He's like, his father's like, look, son, we need to get you set up in life. So here's some stock tips and some money to get you started. And why don't you go make yourself a fortune? And he does. The dude goes out, he takes some money from his dad. At age 21, he's the youngest member of the LA Stock Exchange.
Wow.
By age 22, he is now a real estate developer.
Dang, Barry.
Oh, yeah, Barry is killing it, right? But unfortunately, life is all about change. So Barry has a real early peak and then crashes real hard, real quick, right? It's a lot of stress. He's leading a go-go active lifestyle.
An on-the-go lifestyle.
A busy on-the-go lifestyle, and he couldn't keep up. So he starts to lose money. And then that leads to basically stress, which leads to an episode of mental illness. And he starts drinking. He starts doing more drugs. He gets injured, basically gets in a car accident after a dog runs across the street. And then he starts having to do Percodan. So he's trying to manage the pain. It's very common. You hear about it now, but back then people weren't really thinking about him as the victim. It's just like, oh, now you got a drug problem, bro.
Right.
So anyway, while he's dealing with all this, his father starts losing his fortune.
Oh.
Yes, it gets real bad. So he decides, oh man, I need to do something to save myself, save my family. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get $240,000. That's what I need. He just picks this number, $240,000. Now, just to translate, that's about $2 million in today's money.
I think most people would be like, you know what? I just need $2 million to get everything running on track.
My family would be saved. I'd be saved. Mom would finally smile. Dad would finally talk to her again.
Dad would finally love me.
Exactly.
$2 million.
Also, by the way, you have to keep in mind, old Barry, remember I said thing about a little bit of an episode of mental illness? Mm-hmm. God told him his plan of how to get this money. So he's like, I need $240,000. He put, prayers up. And God's like, I hear you, Barry. Here's the answer.
So did he have auditory hallucinations, you think?
I don't know if his internal, if he's hearing God's voice, like the little voice inside and saying that's God telling him, or if he's literally hearing a voice outside of himself.
He's like, if I see a seagull in the next 5 minutes, it means that God wants me to get $240,000.
I wouldn't put that past.
And then it's all caw and steals his French fries. He's like, I knew it, God.
Thanks, God.
Thank you so much.
So God's like, here's the plan, Barry. You need to kidnap a kid, make the kid someone's famous. But by the way, it can't be a woman and it can't be a baby. It's got to be young. When I say a kid, I'm talking a swinging cat, And he's
so item 1, kidnap a kid.
Yeah, first kidnap a kid. Now, because it's God, though, there's always going to be restrictions. God's like, kidnap a kid, but here's how you have to do it. Otherwise, I'm going to be mad. You know what I do when I get mad? Anyway, they makes a deal with God, and it's like, all right, let's do this, God. And so now he's like, who do I kidnap? It's 1963. You're looking around. Who would you kidnap? Whose kid would you kidnap, rather?
I keep thinking of terrible things to say. 63.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm thinking of vulnerable JFK Jr., but aside from that,
that's a rough one.
I'm so sorry about that. 63, who would I kidnap? Maybe Frank Sinatra's kid? No, I don't know.
I'm taking John Wayne's boy.
Oh, yeah. Do you
Right?
think he was as tough in real life?
No, I don't. That's why I'm taking his kid. I'm thinking he would pay through the nose. I'd take him to Mexico and come find me, bro.
Oh, yeah. You got to go with the cash and maybe not the swiftest.
No, and somebody who's going to be a little bit like scared, but then also maybe like the FBI is going to get involved to like complicate things, so I can like get them thinking they're going to help him. He thinks, and then I just, here's your kid back, and I take the money and I'm out.
Here's your kid back. Boot him across the
So
room.
Barry, he's like, okay, it's 1963. I need to get someone famous. It's got to be a kid, but it can't be a baby, can't be a woman. I know, Bob Hope's kid.
I'll
take
child.
Tony Hope. He's
Tony Hope.
Yeah, Tony Hope. That's Bob Hope's kid. Anyway, I learned that.
Tony Hawk's stunt double.
Tony Hope, bro. So Tony Hope is like, this, nice enough kid. He thinks he's probably worth, at least $240,000, right?
Sure.
And he's like, but you know what? Bob Hope's, he's a G. He's like over there in Vietnam, or I guess, actually this would be Vietnam, over there entertaining the troops.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He's an all-American guy. I can't take his kid. He doesn't need that hassle.
And the man knows how to wield a golf club.
This is very true. So he's like, I need somebody who's a little tougher, who can take it, who understands how the world is. And if I take their kid, they won't just crumble and fall to pieces. So he's like, who can do it? Frank Sinatra. I'm taking his boy.
Wow.
Yeah. But you have to understand, this is interesting because he grew up with the Sinatras.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
With Nancy
He grew up
Sinatra.
with Nancy Sinatra.
And her boots were made for walking.
Yeah, that's just what they're going to do.
Well, one of these days, these boots might walk all over you, buddy.
Oh, let me watch my step. So Nancy Sinatra is so tight with this dude, Barry, she would like have him in the car that Frank would drive. So Frank would drive like Nancy and her girlfriends down to like a party or whatever, and he would be in the car.
So
he's
he's
like
hitching a ride with Frank Sinatra?
He's that close to the family. Like he's not just like I see him occasionally at my school. He's like, I'm in the station wagon.
Why wasn't that his first choice? Inside job, baby. Why would you go for Bob Hope?
So he decides like, I'm gonna get this kid. I know where he is. This shouldn't be too hard. And Frank can take it. He's tough. He understands. This is, because basically, remember, he's got his deal with God, but he also, Barry Keenan thinks of this as a business deal. He's like, hey, Frank, he knows the mob. He knows how it's a business deal. It's not personal.
He's in his early 20s or mid 20s at this point.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to school with Nancy. How old is the boy?
He's 19.
So he's not really a kid.
Well, he is in America.
No,
maybe a son of wealth who's 19.
He's no
That's
longer
a kid.
a minor. Oh, I guess.
Yeah, I'm saying legally. You're the daughter of a lawyer, so you're thinking, oh, wait, he's 19. And I'm like, no, I'm
also thinking at 19. I don't know, a 19-year-old man.
Well, basically, if you say 19-year-old man, it just doesn't.
I like describing it
feel
like
right. Like, have you ever seen a picture of him? He looked like his father was very baby-faced when he was very young, and he followed in his father's footsteps of being very baby-faced. So if you look at him, he looks like a teenager.
So I imagine him baby-faced, meaning he's bald and has one curl on the top of his head,
like the Gerber baby,
with a bow on it,
and he's wearing a suit
and
just
a pacifier,
suit with the baby's head and a pacifier.
Yeah,
and he's just like
that's what I'm
like
seeing
he's on the edge
right
of tears all the time.
That's what I'm seeing. Right
and he's looking around for
he's
a boob. Yeah, he's really moody right now.
Needs a diaper change.
So my man Barry Keenan, he's got his plan set. He's got his target set. He's decided Frank can take it. So now is time to put his plan into action. And I'll tell you all about that after this short break. Okay, so Elizabeth.
Yes.
You're an amateur kidnapper.
I'm an amateur at pretty much everything.
But let's say you're looking to go pro as a kidnapper.
Okay.
Where would you turn? What would be your first move?
I want to go pro as a kidnapper.
Mm-hmm. You want to get paid. Get that bread, son. How are you gonna do it?
I don't know. I'd maybe try and get a mentorship going with
go find a
see
kidnapper.
If I can apply for an apprenticeship program with another kidnapping outfit.
Is there a kidnapper guild?
Teach me everything you know.
Well, Barry goes to the library.
Oh, That's okay.
Right? He reads books. He reads newspaper articles. He really focuses on J. Edgar Hoover in the article because back then, J. Edgar Hoover was writing newspaper articles because he was trying to win over the populace to the idea of the FBI. So in the 30s and the 40s, he's writing updates about shootouts with bank robbers and we almost got, Machine Gun Kelly. We were after Babyface Nelson and he got away. And then he's like, this is why you need the FBI, right? And then also they have the G-Man on the radio. It's like a whole advertising campaign for the FBI, essentially. Anyway, he loves these articles, obsesses on them.
Barry's just hitting the microfiche.
Yeah, he's in the microfiche in the library going, give me all the J. Edgar Hoover I can get, right? But he doesn't just limit himself to Hoover. He also goes all the way back to a real high point of kidnapping, biblical times.
Is this where he gets the notion of God telling him? No, God already told him.
Yeah, no,
so
God's already he's good there.
Let me hit the reference book on
he's like, let me check the blueprint. So he's like, well, he wants to know, basically why kidnapping works, but importantly, why it also fails. So he wants to know, when kidnappings have gone wrong. Smart guy. I mean, for somebody who's edging on reality, it's a smart approach. So once he's schooled on kidnapping and he feels like I got a handle on that, he's like, okay, now I need some money. So where is he going to go? Where are you going to go?
To get some money to fund my kidnapping?
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough one. You can't go to the bank for a loan. So
get a job at a soda fountain and hard work and bootstraps. I don't know, rob somebody.
October 1963, he's like, let me hit up my best friend, Jan.
But hold on, how great would it be if he broke into Sinatra's house and stole money in order to fund the kidnapping of his kid? Just putting that out there, Barry, is a missed opportunity.
I'll just put something else out there. You just wait.
Oh, boy.
So October 1963, calls up his friend, Dean Torrance of Jan and Dean. He's like, Dean, my man, I got a business opportunity for you.
Dean's like, too busy writing surf tunes.
No, he's like, because you have to understand. Remember I said he became a investment broker at 21 and so forth? He was taking his parents' money, his friends' parents' money, his friends' money, and making money for them on investments. Okay. He made a ton of money for Dean Torrance because Dean Torrance had money after making pop hits like Surf City.
Right.
So he's like, oh, I'll take that, invest it. So Dean's like, do you want to do what? What is it? He's like actually curious to know. And he's like, I got this great new business plan. You're going to love it. It's a big money earner, right? So Barry's like, hey, Dean, meet me at USC. And he's like, all right. So they meet over there. And he's like, okay, now I'm going to tell you this plan, but hear me out. Don't interrupt me. Just wait till the end, then interrupt with whatever you got to say.
This is like when you tell me a story.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, just wait till the end. So he's like, okay, here's the plan. He lays it out to him. I'm going to take Frank Sinatra's son, and I'm going to ransom him off, and I'm going to make a bunch of money, and then we'll all be fabulously wealthy, and I'll save my family. He's like, this is your plan. Okay. Now, he was like, to be quite honest, he kind of plays along, and I quote,
yes.
That all sounds great, Barry. Very entertaining. But what happens if you get caught?
That's a reasonable thing to
Right. It's like the most honest question, best question to ask. Barry has an answer. He's like, I'm prepared for that, bro. Well, Dean, and I quote, I'm not going to get caught. That's not part of the plan. I'll have such an ironclad alibi. So
wow.
Dean's
so my plan, if I get caught, is just to not
get caught. I've got that check.
Genius.
Taken care of. So he's like, well, okay, well, lay it on me. What's your alibi? And he's like, well, I'm going to go to UCLA Bruins game and everybody will see me there. And then they can just say that's where I was. And he's like, that's your plan. Okay. All 50,000 people are going to be your eyewitnesses. Deal. So Dean's like, you know what? And I quote, I'll tell you what, this is too bizarre for me to even relate to, but I will give you $500 now. You try to get your life together and let me know how things go.
Oh.
So Dean also, by the way, you would think he has never spoken about this publicly. He has. He's willing to talk about the time he financed Frank Sinatra Jr.'s kidnapping. And he recalls, and I quote, I don't think I ever took him seriously. It was so insane.
Yeah,
that's kind of his defense.
He's got this friend who's not all there and really kind of manic.
And it's his best friend from high school. So he's like, look, I'm doing really well in surf music. You used to be doing well with maybe we can get you back on track.
$500, leave me alone.
Yeah. So then he's like, okay, now I got my money, I got my seed money, got $500. Now it's time to put my plan into action. So he's like, I need to go get a team together. His first ask, old high school buddy, Joe Amsler.
This is Barry's 11.
Yeah, totally. Barry's 11. The dude is an abalone diver, professional boxer.
Wait, that's the most amazing peak California employment.
I saved that
history,
one for you.
That resume. What do you do? Abalone diver, also a professional boxer.
He's, by the way, really struggling with the employment. So
Yeah,
his
I would
wife's like,
say-
look, you get a job or you get out. So, and my man Barry's like, hey, man, I got $100 a week if you want to be part of my heist. And he's like, cool, I'm into it. Right? So he agrees to the heist for $100 a week. Then
So
he's like,
5 weeks of employment
Yeah.
if Barry's going to use it all up.
he's like, I need also somebody who's a tough guy, right? Somebody who can really bring this home. So he's like, oh, I know, my mom's ex-boyfriend.
Oh, he brought it home already.
So he's this 42-year-old World War II veteran, a Navy man. And he's like, hey, John Irwin, you want to help me kidnap Frank Sinatra Jr.? And he's like, well, how much is in it for me? He's like, he tells him $100 a week. He's like, all right, I'm down.
So now we're down to 2.5 weeks of employment here.
Exactly. Well, this is our team. So they're like, okay, let's get to it. Now, their first attempt is that month. They decide in October of 1963, we need to go grab
He
him.
can't pay him beyond that.
You've done the math. It's right
have.
there. So he's like, all right, I need to move. But he's got a problem. Barry's got kind of a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
He fell in love.
Oh, Barry.
Yeah. And he's wondering, how do I tell my girl that I'm going to steal Frank Sinatra's son and make us some big money? She may not be into that. That might scare her away. That may be what the kids of the future will call a red flag. I don't know.
That would be the best Reddit relationships post from either one of them.
Because I want to steal Frank Sinatra Jr. And
It would be like Reddit relationships. Like, my boyfriend keeps disappearing for periods of time, and I think he's cheating. And then the update, well, it turns out he was trying to kidnap Frank Sinatra Jr. Not cheating.
So his girlfriend, Pam, surprises us all. She's into it. She's like, what? Oh,
Pam's a ride or die.
let's get that, dude. I'm telling you, I'll drive. Right? So
Good
they're
for
like
Pam.
all lined up, and they go heading over to Arizona because Frank Sinatra Jr. is going to be playing the Arizona State Fair.
Wait, playing the Arizona State.
Singing. He's a musician.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, yes. I forgot to tell you that. Following in the footsteps of his father, he is a musician, and he's a teen sensation at 19.
He's
So
like a Jacob Dylan.
Yeah, exactly. This is a really good comparison, actually.
Thank you.
So, he's like, basically conjuring that feel, and people are like, oh, it's just, and they love that
And he's
stuff.
playing the Arizona State Fair.
Yeah, there's a part of a generational issue there, because you have to remember it's 1963, and not a lot of people are like, you know what I would love right now is a young Frank Sinatra. So he kind of missed his window there. His father really hit it, though. But anyway.
Yeah.
So he, Barry, Pam, and the Jim, and we got Jim Irwin.
It sounds like you're making up names off the top of your head. Oh, Barry, Pam, and
John
Joe,
Irwin.
and Sam, and
So Joe, John Wamsler, John
whatever, the
Irwin,
four of them.
Pam, and Barry, they all go cruising over to Arizona. But they decide to abort mission because Barry's like, he's basically freaked out about the fact he touched a phone when he went to do something. He's like, oh, I touched the phone. I left fingerprints. We got to leave. And so they're like, okay, Barry.
That's a sign right
So
there.
then they drive back to LA. And he's like, okay, guys, I know that probably didn't seem cool how I freaked out, but trust me, I got a really good plan.
Like,
And
he basically thought he left this oven on.
exactly. And everyone's like, oh, man, I don't know about this. He's like, look, we'll grab him here in LA. And they're like, Barry, I don't know, bro. He's like, look, guys, trust me. This is going to happen. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be magical. We're going to do this. How about this? Put on your best suit. We're going to the Ambassador. And they're like, what? It's like, yeah, do it up, man. So they go and they put on their best suit. They go down to the Ambassador Hotel where Frank Sinatra Jr. is performing. And they get to watch him headline a nightclub act. And sitting a few tables away from them is Frank Sinatra Sr., Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr.
Do you think that's
the whole
why
Rat Pack?
That's why people went to that show, because they thought they would see them.
And that's
in
why
it.
Frank Sinatra went to that show, because that exact same reason. So anyway, now his guys are like, oh, it's ordained. We're going to do it. We're going to take that man's son.
That was their seagull sign.
they decided, right? They're seeing him.
They're like, if
okay.
Frank Sinatra flies across this room and steals my french fries, it's on. Remember, I'm channeling Barry here, who's not playing with all.
eye to eye with him. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So now remember, their alibi is they're going to go to a UCLA football game. So they set the day. They're going to kidnap Barry on a Friday, go to the UCLA football game on a Saturday. Everyone will see him. They're like, how could they have kidnapped him on Friday if they were at a UCLA game on Saturday, bro?
Nothing can happen in 24 hours.
Exactly. So that's their plan. And they set the date for Friday, November 22nd. 1963.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh.
So plans get interrupted when
Little
JFK gets assassinated that day in Dallas.
Oh, boy.
So Frank Sinatra Jr.'s show gets canceled that night, and Barry's like, damn it, man, this is not fair. This is just not fair. So anyway, he's really upset. He's like, but I'm not going to give up on the dream. He's like, I refuse. This is my moment, right? So he's like, okay, I'm going to have to go up to Tahoe, because he sees that's where Frank Sinatra Jr. is going to be performing in December. He's like, okay, it's a perfect place to grab. He's out there at the Sierra Nevada mountains. I can just go up. There's all those little back roads. I can drive down to Reno. I can drive down to San Francisco. There's no way to stop me. I could go south on the 99. This is great. I got
December in Tahoe. Okay.
Yeah, but he's thinking, he's from, down south, so he doesn't really know that it's going to be most likely snowy.
Icy.
He's not thinking about that, right? But he calls up his mom's ex. He's like, "Hey, John Irwin, you want to go up north to Tahoe?" He's like, "Bro, I got a job. I got work as a house painter. I don't need your $100 a week." He's like, "Okay, just don't tell anyone I'm doing this, okay?" So then he grabs up his buddy, abalone diver turned boxer, Joe Amsler, and he's like, "Hey, Joe, let's go north." And he's like, "Oh man, I can't. My wife's not about on me. I haven't been able to collect any abalone. I haven't fought anybody. I mean, just things are tough. I need to get some work." He's like, "Yeah, there's construction jobs. People are building casinos. Let's go up to Tahoe." And he's like, "All right, bet. Let's go."
He's all, wear your abalone short shorts.
Yes, exactly. So they drive north, and they're going up there, and they get to Tahoe, and all of a sudden, Joe notices on the marquee at Harrah's Casino, Frank Sinatra Jr. now headlining the whatever room. And he's like, "Bro, what's up with this? You just brought me here to grab Frank Sinatra Jr. We're not getting construction jobs." He's like, "Yeah, that's true. We're doing it, man. We're doing it." So I will be back in one moment to tell you the madcap grabbing of Frank Sinatra Jr. It's December 8th, 1963. We're just weeks after the assassination of JFK. The nation is mourning, but Frank Sinatra Jr. is like, the show must go on. So he's out there at Harrah's Casino getting ready to perform.
Junior.
Yeah, Frank Sinatra Jr. So then we enter to the scene Barry and Joe Amsler, abalone diver turned boxer, who
short shorts.
They pull up into the Sierra Nevadas and they decide, you know what? We're going to do this thing. After they have a little falling out about the fact that Joe was lied to by Barry, he's like, all right, I'm here though. Let's do this. So they pull up in their 63 Chevy Impala. And now, mind you, they have to get his routine down. So for about a week, they just kind of shade Frank Sinatra Jr. They're tracking him. Now, we've spent that week up. Now we are at December 8th. So for the last week, they've been there.
Doing the most dangerous game on.
Exactly. Just tracking him, wanting
Jr.
to know all of his routines, anything he does, right? So now they got it down. So they pull up in their 63 Chevy Impala, cut the lights, and they go, okay, it's the moment. Let's do this. He's like, you ready, Joe? He's like, I don't think I am. And he's like, well, here's an unloaded gun. Let's do this.
It's an unloaded gun.
I swear to God, he gives him an unloaded gun. He doesn't trust Joe with bullets. So then he has bullets in his gun. He's like, hey, let's go in there. So Barry's like, you know what? I got an idea. I'll be a delivery man. So he takes a wine box, fills it up with pine cones. He gathers from just trees and goes up and knocks on the door.
Well, it's like a Martha Stewart.
Yeah. He's like, I got a
decor delivery.
Exactly.
Here are the pine cones
I got the pine cones, they're decorative.
What if he opens the door and Frankie Jr.'s like, oh, I've been waiting on those, and just starts chewing them up?
He's like, thank God.
They didn't know.
No,
They hadn't noticed that he only eats pine
cones. And that's why he's such a beautiful voice. So he goes up and he knocks on the door. He's like, hey, Joe, be cool. Ready? Okay, knock, knock. And then Frank Sinatra Jr., rich kid that he is, like, come in. So they push open the door, walk in with the pine cones, like, delivery, sir. He's like, oh, I set him down over there. He sets him down, and he's like, Joe, come on in. And he tries to pull out his gun, but he can't get his gun out of his pocket. So the two of them are both fumbling. One guy's got the unloaded gun. He's aiming it at them. The other one's got his gun in his pocket. Barry finally gets the gun out of his pocket, forces it into Frank Sinatra Jr.'s face, and is like, all right, this is a robbery, right? Because he's decided he doesn't want him to think it's a kidnapping. So he doesn't tell him it's a kidnapping. He's like, don't make any noise and nobody will get hurt. And he just keeps repeating this over and over again. And Frank Sinatra Jr. is like, okay. Now, mind you, I left out a key detail. When they burst into the room, Frank Sinatra Jr. and his trumpet player, this guy Foss, they're hanging out in their underwear eating fried chicken.
As you do.
You know, just before the show.
On
just
a
trying
cold
to chill.
winter's night,
And it's
sitting in
like,
your drawers.
Yeah, sitting in your drawers
chicken.
with your trumpet player, eating some fried chicken.
That sounds lovely.
Right? So they're just sitting there now in their underwear, eating fried chicken with guns in their faces.
They just continue eating.
No, they do. He literally continues. He takes a bite of thigh. He's like, what's going on, man?
That's incredible.
So then he's like, look, give us some money. And he's like, no, he's made the terrible mistake of trying to rob musicians. The trumpet player's like, bro, I don't got anything.
Yeah,
I got
luck with
good
that
luck.
one.
And so Frank
He's
Sinatra
like,
Jr.'s
I'm
like,
wearing one sock. That's all you need
you don't
to
want to know why. So he's like, I got $20. Frank Sinatra Jr. is like, here, I got $20. And the reason why they decided to rob him is because Barry has spent up all their money. They don't have gas money to make it back to LA. They need this money. So then once they get done robbing him, then they go, okay, now back to kidnapping. So then they go, okay.
This is a side quest.
I'm telling you, it's amazing. So then they tell the dude, Foss, the trumpet player, look, you're going to stay here, bro. We're going to tie you up. 10 minutes after we leave, you can go tell people that we took Frank Sinatra Jr. He's like, oh,
You're going to
okay.
tie him up with a 10-minute
limit. Yeah.
What happens after 10 minutes? It
I don't know.
magically undoes itself.
They just wanted a head start. So they thought he's a man of dignity and honor.
He's not going to get caught because he's not going to get caught. So
Exactly.
I'm
This is
not
all
worried.
part of the plan. I don't know why you have questions. So they shuffle Frank Sinatra Jr. out of the room. They go and they take him down to the 63 Chevy Impala, toss him in back, blindfold him. They get ready to go and they're like, oh, forgot the gun. So Barry has to go back upstairs and fetch his gun. And he sees that Foss is like trying to get free. He's like, bro, I thought I told you. He's like, okay, look, just give me 5 minutes. And he goes like, okay, I'll give you 5 minutes. He's like, oh, cool. So then he leaves.
She's
He's
like the dopiest people I've ever heard of.
Exactly. So then they go run back downstairs and he's like, oh, cool. And they get in the car and Joe is not taken off. Joe's still in the car sitting there. Joe's like, man, we really got to get out of here. So they're like, oh, cool. And he's like, hey, Frank Sinatra Jr., be cool, bro. Just be cool. And he's like, what's going on? You guys robbed me? You kidnapped me? What's really going on? He's like, so this is a quote from Barry, and I quote, we're in the car, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. I say, Frank, what we should do is make you look like you're drunk. So here, take these sleeping pills, Nembutal to be precise, take a swig of this whiskey, and Frank, he was very cooperative.
I love this for so many reasons. One, what we should do as kidnappers... kidnappy is make you look drunk. Like he's gonna be like, oh yeah, totes, like that. Let's do it.
I'm into that.
And then they're like, here, take these pills and some whiskey. He's like, don't gotta ask me twice.
Right, exactly.
This is the greatest.
And now the Frank Sinatra Jr. did have to be kind of like convinced because they told him, look, we got these guns, and if anything happens, if cops show up, there'll be gunfire, and you might get shot by the cops. We don't want that to happen. He's like, that's true. Give me the booze.
Right, but if I'm like kidnapped and shoved in the back of a really cool looking 63 Impala, I imagine, brand new, they shove me in there and they've got guns in my face, I'm gonna say, can I have those pills and that whiskey? Because I just want to check out on this one right now.
Well, that's what
Not
Joe
that
Amsler's
I'm gonna,
doing.
Kill myself, but I'm like, I lights out London. I want to go to sleep. I don't want to see this.
So that's
and then you can deal with my limp body as you try and move me around.
Just pour me in the footwell and I'll be fine.
Yeah.
So
Wait, so did Joe hit up the pills and whiskey?
Yeah,
too?
Joe and Frank are passing back and forth the bottle because they're both a little tense right now, right? They're just not, he's not sure this is going to go well.
This is amazing.
So Foss, the trumpet player, works himself free. He runs down to the manager. He's like, look, they grabbed Frank Sinatra Jr. Manager's like, what?
Was he
I'm going to get killed.
Was he still eating a piece of chicken?
He had him like in his teeth. He's like, look, I'm telling you, just 1 second. This is some good chicken. So anyway, the manager calls the sheriff. The sheriff's like, what? I'm going to get killed by Frank Sinatra. So everyone's afraid of getting killed by Frank Sinatra. So they shut down the roads. They shut down the freeway. He has all these deputies go and like block off any exits, and they do it fast enough. He's like, I want you boys out there because I don't think they got out of this area. There's no way. It's only been like 5-10 minutes. So he sends his guys out with sawed-off shotguns and pistols into the dark and cold and goes, go find me the kidnappers of Frank Sinatra Jr. And the sheriff is right about one thing. They have not left the area.
What, do they all take pills and booze?
No.
Pull over?
Barry's like, you know what, man? I told you I got the plan. I thought of everything. He says, I just need to put these snow chains on.
Oh, my God.
He does. But he gets the snow chains on. They're driving along, and he notices in the distance these headlights, and he's like, oh, that's a police roadblock. So he pulls over. He's like, I just need the time to think, guys. I didn't think about this part. And they're like, okay, that's cool. Cool. He's like, okay, here's my plan. The cops think that there are 3 people because one is Frank Sinatra and the 2 are the kidnappers. So they're looking for a car with 3 people. Joe, you need to get out. Joe's like, okay. Now, meanwhile, a blizzard has started to fall. The snow is gone. There's like a light snow at first, and now it's starting to build. Now we're getting actual blizzard conditions. And he's like, Joe, run out into the blizzard. And
Joe is in his abalone hunting outfit.
Exactly.
So he's like barefoot, short shorts, and a net.
And a good whiskey drunk at this point.
And that's it. Yeah, and he's slurring his speech.
So he's like, okay. He runs out into the night, right? So then Barry gets out and starts working on the car tire chains, and then these cops pull up. They're like, hey. Barry's like, what's going on, officer? And the cops are like, hey, man, what are you doing? He's like, oh, just fixing my chains, car tires. He's like, oh, yeah, we're just out looking for some people. And then he's like, cool. And then the cops get back in their patrol car and drive down the road.
We're just out looking for some people.
He's like, yeah, but you're not it, apparently.
No.
So Barry's like, hey, Frank Jr., nice job, but like playing along. He's like, no, I'm just dead.
He's just drool all down his front.
Exactly. So
he's soiled himself.
He's like, yeah, okay, now we need to get out of here. And so Frank Sinatra Jr. is like, well, what about Joe? And he's like, oh, okay, fine.
Wait a second.
Frank Sinatra Jr. is worried about the kidnapper. He's like, we need to go save Joe. He's like, okay, fine. Frank, calm down.
In his drug-induced haze, he thinks of Joe.
Yeah, so he gets out.
Done.
He's like, oh, screaming and shouting into the darkness. And he's like, hey. And then Joe comes running back. Joe's like, oh, man, I ran into a fence post. I knocked myself out for a while.
Just stop it.
Yeah.
Did he legitimately
ran into a fence post, knocked himself out. Then he comes to and then runs back when he hears his name being shouted into the darkness. So then...
This is a Coen Brothers movie.
Exactly. So then he gets back. He's like, look, we got the same problem, though. Joe, you can't be here. You got to be in the trunk. He's like, but I'm so cold. He's like... Just get in the trunk, Joe. Joe's like, okay. So Joe gets in the trunk. Now they drive down to a roadblock, and then he's like, hey, officers. And the officer's like, pull that shotgun. You get out of that car, because he doesn't know that he just sees a car coming at him, and he's like,
right.
They decide this must be the kidnappers. And Barry's like, hey, man, cool down. I don't know what the problem is. We already got searched. And the other cop's like, oh, yeah, I searched him. Don't worry about it. And he's like, I don't know about that. He's like, no, I don't care. I'm going to search you again. He's like, you can't do that, man. He's like, the other cop's like, it's cool, man. He's like, all right, lets him go.
What is going on where people just tell someone something and it becomes true?
Exactly. That's how it works.
Wow.
And now they're off to L.A. And, they get into the dark of the night as the blizzard is falling, and they turn on the radio and they hear, Frank Sinatra Jr. has been kidnapped. And the news is blaring. And he's like, wait, you guys kidnapped me, man? I thought we were just on a road trip. He doesn't quite understand what's happening to him, right? So then Frank Sinatra has to listen to his dad because they're playing Frank Sinatra music because his son's been kidnapped. So then just listen to Frank Sinatra tunes as they drive south in California.
Oh, my God.
And they've gotten away with it. So what comes next? I'll tell you after this very, very short break. So what comes next? Well, for these three young men, it's basically a road trip south. I mean, they're having some fun. They're chucking down some pills. They're drinking some booze. They're listening to Sinatra tunes. It's basically like that scene from Swingers. It's just like, all right.
God.
But then they get back to L.A. and reality finally sets in for poor Frank Sinatra Jr. He's like, wait a minute. You guys totally took me out. I have a show to play and this is messed up, man. They're like, okay, yes, we kidnapped you. What's your dad's number so we can get some money for you? And he's like, I'm not telling you my dad's number. They're like, no, you have to. And he's like, I'm not doing it. And they're like, I didn't think about this part of the plan. So they have no answer. So he's like, Joe, hit him. He's like, I'm not hitting him. He's my buddy, man. I'm not going to mess you up. Yeah, we're cool. And so they're actually really getting tight, the two of them, right? So
pill pals.
Yeah, exactly. So Frank Jr.'s like, yeah, I'm a tough guy. I ain't going to tell you my dad's number. They're like, oh, damn.
But wait, doesn't he know Nancy? Why can't he be like?
Well, Frank moves around, right? So luckily, he's like, well, I've already had some bad news, so I got some time to kill. I need to go back up to Tahoe because I didn't pay off the hotel bill.
So, you can't just go ahead and not pay it, man.
Well, no, then they'll know it's him. He's worried, right? He's like, they'll have the idea that he has this hotel that's never built. Anyway.
Well, the way things are working, call him and tell him you paid it.
Well, instead, he calls Dean Torrance, and he's like, Dean, I need $500 more because I got Frank Sinatra Jr. down in L.A. He's like, whoa, wait, you did it? He's like, yeah. It's like, okay, you need to stop calling me, right, man? So, but he's like, but here's $500. Never call me again. He's like, thanks. I needed the money. And he drives back up to Tahoe, pays off his hotel bill. And he takes Pam, his rich girlfriend, with him. She actually ends up paying most of the hotel bill. He needs the $500 so he can pay gas and not have to ask Pam for money for gas, I guess. They actually spend the day skiing after they pay off the hotel bill. And then they drive back down south.
Oh.
Meanwhile,
God.
Once he's back in L.A., Barry discovers that Joe and Frank Jr. have gotten real tight. And they're kind of like, basically, they don't want to go through with it anymore. And he's like, what the hell, man? It's like, you guys, okay, look. So he's got to call in the outside ringer again. He calls his mom's ex-boyfriend. He's like, John Irwin, I need you to come in and be tough for me. He's like, okay. So the old World War II veteran comes in. They're like, look, I found out how to get a hold of Frank Sinatra. He's got this casino, this hotel in Reno he's staying at, and everybody's been talking about it on the news. I'm just going to call there, and then you asked to talk to Frank.
Did he have the Cal Neva? Was that his?
He owned the Cal Neva with Sam Giancana.
That's right.
He was like basically the front person for it. And so
my memory serves.
Yes, good job, darling. You see that in the Godfather. They have that whole scene up in Tahoe. That's kind of like a nod to the Cal Neva.
Right.
So now, Barry's like, okay, I can't really count on Joe, but at least he'll hopefully keep Frank Sinatra Jr. safe in the hideout while John Irwin and I go take care of this. Come on, Mama's ex. And so they go, and they're like, okay, let's call Frank Sr. They call up the hotel, and Frank Sr.'s like, okay, these are the kidnappers. Let me hear from them, right? And he's like, okay. Boom. Hey, Frank, we got your boy. And they're like, what? Frank freaks out. He's like, I'll give you $1 million for my son. And he's like, oh, just a second, Frank, you're getting ahead of yourself. We're going to call you at this Chevron station. And they give him an address. They go there. We'll call you in a couple of minutes. And he's like, okay. So then hang up. So then Frank, being an FBI agent, drive off to that Chevron station. Meanwhile, John Irwin calls the Chevron station. He's like, hey, is Frank Sinatra there? The guy working the gas station's like, no, hangs up. So John Irwin calls back, hey, is Frank Sinatra there? This guy at the gas station's like, what the hell, pal? He's like, listen, pal, Mr. Sinatra is not in the habit of taking calls at this Chevron station. Hangs up. Then a car pulls up. Out steps Frank Sinatra. The dude from the Chevron station's like, what? He's like, hey, I'm Frank Sinatra. Have I had any calls?
Oh my God.
Can you imagine that moment for that dude?
Insane.
He's like, gets call 1, call 2, call 3. Is this Frank Sinatra? Is Frank Sinatra there? Is Frank Sinatra there? Hey, I'm Frank Sinatra. Any calls?
Oh my God.
So, that guy, he's getting free drinks for life on that. Anyway, Irwin calls again. Frank gets this call and he's like, yeah, I'm Frank Sinatra. He's like, thank goodness. And so then now he's like, Frank's like, look, I'll give you $1 million for my boy. He's like, no, Barry only wants $240,000.
What?
So they lowball Frank Sinatra and they ask for $240,000 according to their plan. He goes, here's the deal. You need to get an FBI courier to go to a payphone in LA, and then we'll call that payphone and tell them to go to another payphone, and then we'll call that payphone, and then we'll go to another payphone, and we'll call that payphone, and we'll keep doing that till we decide that you can go to the right drop. And he's like, okay. So then they do this. They set up this drop, and on December 11th, the money is left by the FBI at a drop spot on Sunset Boulevard. Joe Amsler and Barry are driving around looking for the drop spot. They see the money's there between 2 school buses in a black bag, just like they ask. He goes, Joe, get out, grab the money. Joe gets out. He sees something doesn't feel right. Joe just runs away, just takes off.
Just like in the woods.
Yeah, exactly. Barry's like, oh, man. So now he drives around the block. He finds parking. He gets out. He goes to get the money. He goes like, you know what? I saw all these like ice cream trucks and like all these cabs. I was like, those guys are the FBI. I don't care. I'm getting the money. He goes and gets the money anyway, drives away, right? He gets away with it. Meanwhile, John Irwin's like, I've had it. I'm done with this. So he's like, Frank, get in the car. He calls Frank Sr. He's like, look, I'm taking your boy. I'm giving him back to you. You'll find him on this overpass over the 405 freeway. And he's like, click, hangs up. He's like, Frank Jr., get in the car. We're going. He goes and he drives. He drops Frank Jr. off on the overpass over the 405. He's like, get out. He's like, oh, okay. Yeah. And he just starts, running off on his own. Meanwhile, Frank Sr. is looking for him, driving around, but Frank Jr. doesn't know to wait there, so he runs to Bel Air. And a security guard sees him, is like, hey, it's Frank Jr. And he tries to get him past all the reporters.
It's a safe haven.
And he takes him all the way to his house. The family rejoices. Everything is golden. Now, so far, all is good. Everything has worked. The press, which has been after Frank Sinatra Sr. for being mob affiliated, also for basically there's a whole issue about the Kennedys. Basically, Bobby Kennedy was going after him for the mob stuff. And so he was looking bad about this. Now he's this forefather.
Incredible goodwill.
And also he worked with the FBI. So the FBI is like, oh, we're tight with Frank. It's cool. He let us at the house. Yeah. So now all of a sudden all his problems go away. So he's actually kind of been done a solid by Barry. Barry's like, look, I was like, just like God said, everybody wins. So he's like convinced everything's gold. And he's like, okay, let's go celebrate. So Barry and Joe go back to their hideout. They take all the money they got. They throw it on like the ground and
roll around in
I quote literally, we laid all the money out, danced on it, lit cigarettes with it, did all the things we'd seen in the movies. We had a money war, throwing wads of bills at each other.
I think I figured out why Barry's business acumen wasn't so hot.
Yeah, I think we've nailed it.
He lit the money on fire to light cigarettes with it.
Yeah, you ever done that? You don't smoke cigarettes.
No.
Yeah. Anyway,
and I'm not a moron who would steal money, like get money and then light it on fire.
It's very much like a cartel dream. I think some young boys have. Anyway, John Irwin's like, look, I'm out. I'm so done with you guys.
Yes.
So he's like, I'm 42. I'm a Navy vet. I ain't got time for this. So he's like, I'm going to New Orleans and I'm going to go be safe and happy there. So he goes like, first I got to go see down my boy, my brother down in San Diego. So he pops down to San Diego. He's like, hey, my brother, I'm leaving the area. I got to go to New Orleans. But first, I want to tell you a little secret, a little funny story of what your brother's been up to. I grabbed Frank Sinatra Jr. I did it. Me and my friends. I got all this money. Isn't that wild? His brother's like, are you kidding me? I mean, you can't do that. Frank Sinatra's boy? He's like, okay, well, I'm tired. Let me just take a nap and I'll get out of your hair. He's like, okay.
Nap.
So he lays down to go to sleep. His brother immediately calls the cops. The cops show up and arrest him.
So his brother has a higher allegiance to Frank Sinatra.
Yes, exactly. His brother snitches on him. He's like, look, I got to look out for Frank. So then now we got Joe Amsler. He gets popped while he's like playing chess at a friend's house. He's playing chess.
Joe.
Yes. And then Barry eventually gets arrested at his girlfriend's place. So
Pam.
They all, dear old Pam. So they all now have to go to court cases. The trials last for about 4 weeks. Barry refuses to plead guilty by insanity because he's like, no, I meant to do this. God told me to do it. I don't know what you people are talking about. And so his lawyers put forward this other whack theory that is Frank Jr., this is a hoax. He arranged this. He was in on it. And they put this out and they say this before the press, which is messed up because now for the rest of his life, Frank Jr.
But it's crazy smart.
Yeah, it is crazy smart, but it doesn't get the guys off. They go down for 75 years each.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. But the one good thing is I have to give Frank Jr. credit. When he goes up on the witness stand, he says the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. He even admits that, I hope you guys get away with this, is one of the quotes he admits to in court.
Oh,
so
wow.
that's part of the reason why he kind of messes himself up, because he says that before the hoax gets put forward.
Yeah.
Anyway, he gets burned. The 3 guys all get sentenced to 75 years plus life for Amsler and Barry. Irwin only gets 75 years. Anyway, eventually the people are like, that's cruel, unusual, ridiculous. It gets chalked down to 3.5 years for Amsler and Irwin, 4.5 years for Barry.
It's cut from 75 to 3.5 years. They're like, close enough.
By 1968, Barry is out. By 1983, he's got a fortune of $17 million. Remember, he was good at business. Yeah, he just needed that $240,000. He could get back on top.
It sounds like Barry was just going through a time. He was spinning out a little bit.
Real rough time for him.
Wow.
Anyway.
I feel like we've all known a Barry.
I think I've known a few Barrys.
Yeah.
I just try not to be a Barry.
Yeah, just don't be a Barry.
So eventually he opens a substance abuse clinic for other addicts to get clean. He wants to put his fortune to good use. In the late 90s, though, interestingly, Barry and Frank Sinatra Jr. used to see each other at Beverly Hills social events, fundraisers and so forth, and they would see each other across the room. They never talked. They would just, they would. They'd give each other a nod and a friendly, hey, you remember that trip, huh? Anyway,
wild time.
So Frank Sinatra, he died in 1998. At his funeral, his youngest daughter, Tina, she slipped 10 dimes into his pocket because she knew that her dad had always carried 10 dimes on him at all times. This was something that really meant something to her. And she chalked it up to the kidnapping. And I quote Tina Sinatra, I think it came from Frankie's kidnapping, maybe before. He never wanted to get caught not able to make a phone call. He always carried 10 dimes.
Wow.
Isn't that nice? I just like that as a father.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, he's Frank Sinatra. He could just say to someone,
hey, Big Jilly, get that phone.
Yeah, you don't even need a payphone. You just walk into any establishment or someone's home.
Hey, I'm Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra kicks in your front door and is like, I need to make a phone call. You're like, yes, Mr. Sinatra. Can I get you anything else? You start mixing drinks, panicking, sweat running.
Anything for your 2 hood friends.
Yeah, you're hiding all your abalone hunting equipment. Be cool.
Cool. So what's a ridiculous takeaway from this one?
Oh, wow. I think that, again, everybody knows a Barry, some of the ridiculous stuff that he pulls off and I'm really stuck on I'll give you $1 million. Nah, all I need is 240.
Yeah, that's the number I wanted.
Like,
I'm going to lowball you, Frank.
The Lord told me 240.
Exactly. This is a business deal. And I'm a businessman.
I mean, why wouldn't you just be like, yeah, that'll work? I mean, did he feel like maybe if he was honest about how much he needed that...
That's all he needed. He didn't want any more. He wanted to keep to his deal.
So he's not really greedy,
He was on a mission from God.
Yeah, he was. And seagulls.
My ridiculous takeaway is, wasn't life wild before cell phones?
Oh, yeah.
Like, so much of this could be settled with the cell phone.
I love the screaming into the Chevron station thing. Like, yeah, that's a totally pre-cell
Poor
phone.
Joe almost dying in a blizzard just because they don't have cell phones. All they would have had to have been like, look.
Joe, I feel like we're two kids talking about a movie and all our favorite scenes, but Joe running into a fence post is the chef's kiss on this one, especially because in my mind, he's dressed like he's abalone diving and he's in the snow. So I like that a lot. But yeah, Joe just is his own thing is amazing.
Joe is just a spectacular being.
Yeah. So we all know a Barry. Don't be a Barry.
Don't be a Barry. Try to be a Joe.
But not 100% a Joe. Because like if you're going to run into the woods, don't run into a fence post.
But be well-meaning.
I also like that Joe befriends Frank Sinatra Jr.
Yeah. They're
just like doing drugs and
they were like
chilling out together.
When he gets back to the hideout, they've like worked out like whole like dances and like they're like
what?
Yeah, it's like a thing.
They had like a dance routine and they're like wait,
they're chilling
Barry,
together.
before we start this again, watch what we came up with.
Yeah.
Like 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for joining us. I'm Elizabeth Dutton.
I am Zaron Burnett.
You can find us online at Ridiculous Crime on both Twitter and Instagram. You got a tip for us about a ridiculous crime you'd like to hear about? Hit us up with it. You want to confess to a ridiculous crime? I don't recommend that, but do it anyway.
Oh, do it. Just go
Email us at ridiculouscrime@gmail.com. Thank you for being with us.
No, thank you.
Ridiculous Crime is hosted by Elizabeth Dutton and Zaron Burnett. Produced and edited by Dave Fly Me to the Moon Houston. Research is by Marissa New York Brown. The theme song is by Thomas I've Got You Under My Skin Lee.
Doobie.
And resident keeper of the groove, Travis Quincy Jones just calls me Trav Dutton. Executive producers are Ben. The best is yet to come, and babe, won't it be bowling? And Noel, I get a kick out of you, Brown.
Bravo!
Ridiculous Crime is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.